Happy Wednesday. Today,
Happy hump day.
I have Kay on with me today. We're going to talk about her land business. I'm pretty excited. This is the first time I'm getting to talk with her too, so it'll be a great conversation. We're just kind of going to go from there. So, Kay, tell me a little bit about you. What kind of got you into land, and what were you doing before?
Yeah, so I got into land kind of by mistake, probably like a lot of people. Before I ran a Airbnb type of situation, rental arbitrage. So, buy on one market, sell on another market, exactly what we do in land, right?
Mm-hmm.
So familiar with the setup. Did that for about 4 or 5 years. Anybody who's done short-term rentals, they know it is a very, very active business.
Yes.
And there used to be a very good margin in it, and now it's a lesser margin, and you still have all the headache of
Mm-hmm.
I would say short-term tenants, you know, so and all the overhead. And so
Yeah.
after doing that for a while, I think similar to the land industry, after all the COVID money was pushed out and everybody was buying everything and everything was good across all businesses, right?
Mm-hmm.
The market started to correct itself, and that's when we saw those tight margins. And if you weren't operating a lean machine, you weren't going to last too long. There
Yeah.
was tons of companies like Stay Alfred that got a lot of VC funding, and they went berserk, thousands of units across the country. And when the market changed, unfortunately, they just went belly up.
Mm-hmm.
So that in that business, it taught me the importance of running a lean business, to be honest with you. And I'm able to take all I learned from that into this business. But back to your question,
Mm-hmm.
about 2023, I bought a piece of land, tiny 0.15 acres, right outside the city of Charlotte. And I was going to develop it.
Mm-hmm.
So I own some properties. Most of the properties that were in the short-term rental business were rented. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get this piece of land. I'm gonna build on it. And I'm gonna sell the house because I think development is cool, right? And so I paid for this course and linked up with a local successful developer here, and he taught me and showed me the ropes. And through the course, I learned how to look at land through the eyes of a developer and how much they would pay for it and what that percentage looked like based on what they could build on it. Just having that knowledge, like the course was $5,000, right?
Mm-hmm.
And just that little piece of knowledge let me know that I underpaid for my lot and that I can sell it for double. Like,
Sweet.
yeah, I haven't even been to a lot. Like, I didn't do anything with a lot. I went and put it on the market 3 days. It sold for double the price, right?
Ooh.
Yeah, just like that. And so I'm like, that's crazy. Not gonna spend a whole year trying to build something and deal with that and sell
Mm-hmm.
it, do all of that work when you can just flip something. And so that kind of got my wheels turning, and I
Yeah.
was like, how could I scale this? I didn't even know this world like existed until I started researching online and everything.
It's
And
that
so
it's that like return on effort, right? Because you look at like, okay, so I could build this house and probably sell it, make like 100 grand, right? And that's cool, but it's gonna take me a year and headaches and all this stuff, right? And you
yeah,
doubled your money in 3 days. It's
yeah.
like,
And
whoa, what am
thank
I doing?
God I didn't build because the market tanked, right? So
Mhm.
it would have been done, and it would have been like not worth as much as we thought it was going to be worth. And
Definitely.
yeah. So, so just the universe worked out. And
Mhm.
it goes to show like invest in yourself, pay for education. Like that's
Oh yeah.
something that just compounds with your
Mhm.
experience. So yeah, take the course, get into the mentorships. It's worth its weight in gold.
Yeah,
So
I'd say I spend about 20,000 a year on different mentorships and different programs because it's the best way to like kind of like accelerate yourself, right? You could sit there, read as much as you want, do all that stuff, whatever, but at the end of the day, learning from other people that are actually doing it is just the best way to learn.
oh
And
yeah,
actually like having these conversations, and you never know who you're going to meet that could be a future partner, you know?
yeah, yeah,
That's the best thing. So I'm right
exactly.
there with you. Educate
Exactly.
yourself as much as you can.
Yeah, yeah. Speaking of, you never know who's going to be a partner. I was saying I was at the Quadient showroom. They're kind of asking, what I do and everything, and I'm telling them, how much we kind of the return on investment per letter and everything like that. And they're like, their wheels are turning. They're like, you get how much per letter? Like, you know, and it's just like, you can kind of see their wheels turning, like, how do I get in this? Like, how can I partner with you? Type of thing. But like you said, you never know, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah. But that's how I got into it. I took a few classes. I took, the first class I took was Joe McCall's class.
Okay.
Then I took the Apke Brothers class, and then I took Leah the Sumner's class. So those were the three that I took, and you know, I'm active in the Discords with all the other land folks, which is great. So
Yeah, it's great to just get in a group with people and just talking to them and like seeing like, you know, like asking the questions when you need to ask the question. It's the best, right? Having
yeah,
that community around you is it's really the most beneficial thing, you
yeah,
know.
and reading other people's questions too, because sometimes, you know,
Mhm.
you're like, man, I didn't think of that, or you don't feel as stupid. And you're like, I didn't know that either. You know? But
I know.
it's a great community, and everyone is so open to helping, and it's good. You don't really see that in online forums, because behind a computer screen you can really be a mean person, and it's easy to
Mhm.
do that. And in the land communities, it's great. Everyone's pretty open. You just, you know, good. So,
Yeah. Yeah, you have to be because I mean it's great. I love Leah's community because everybody here is pretty like chill and open to just sharing, and you know, there's no really holding back, which that's
yeah,
the way it should be. I mean, there's so much land in this country. It doesn't have to be like you have to keep it all to yourself. Obviously, we all have our own little secrets that we do and little tweaks we do in our business, but
yeah,
um for the most part, as long as like you're not stealing somebody's, you know, lead, then it's all good.
yeah. You
You know what
can't.
I mean?
Yeah, don't do
Which has
that.
happened to me before. It does happen. It's
Not knowingly, right? Because
not.
sometimes you'll get someone on the phone, you're like, they don't know who they spoke to, because the last person just didn't leave a memorable impression. And then they end up doing a deal with you, right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. So it's funny. Like I was in before I got into land, I kind of was like you probably heard this before, but I was looking to buy a hotel and I was out in Tennessee and I'm looking at this hotel and it was like 120 units and I'm looking at it. I'm like, okay, cool. We'll buy for 5 million. We're gonna put about 1 million into it, operate it for about 2 years, get the P&L up, and then go ahead and sell it. Probably walk away with 1 million net profit after everything. I'm like, it's gonna be great, love it, whatever. So meet with this guy, go to Tennessee, fly out there, walk in the hotel with him. He's telling me everything. I'm looking over the P&Ls. It's an absolute nightmare, whatever. And yeah, so I'm like, what am I getting myself into? So I'm talking to this guy. I was like, why aren't you keeping this thing? You're local. You know this stuff. You love it. Like, why don't you keep it? And he's like, it's not what I do. I'm like, what do you do? He's like, I buy land and sell it and like subdivide. I'm like, really? Land? I've been in real estate for like at the time 15 years. And I'm like, I never thought about land, right? And I'm like, so what do you do? He's like, well, you know, we buy like chunks of land and we subdivide it and like sell it to developers and all that stuff. I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. He's like, I'll show you tomorrow. He's like, here, you know, he gave me his car and I was driving around. He's like, tomorrow, meet me over here. We'll go, I'll show you one of my developments. I'm like, cool. So I get in the car, driving, and he brings me up to the side of this mountain in Tennessee. And he's showing me like all these things, and he's showing me all the plots. And he's like, yeah, so we bought the side of this mountain for 400,000. And he's like, and then over like the next 5 years, we've been cutting them up and selling each lot on seller finance. And then I bring in the builders. The builders come and build these like 6,000 square foot Airbnbs. And then, you know, whatever. And then people rent them out and they come and stay here and whatever. I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. I was like, that sounds awesome. He's like, yeah, I've made about $12 million so far on this one. And I was like, wait, what? He's like,
Yeah, like,
yeah,
it's 12 million.
yeah. Yeah, he's like, yeah, I made about 12 million so far on just the land. I'm like, on land. And he's like, yeah. I was like, so you're not doing any of the buildings? He's like, nope. I was like, you're not doing any of anything? Like, you're not, no tenants, nothing. He's like, nope, just the land. I sell it, I hold notes, and that's pretty much it. I was like, I need to learn how to do this. And he's like, it's actually not hard. He's like, it's just, you know, it takes time. He's like, I've been doing this. He's been in land for like 50 years. His first property he ever did, he bought it in Florida and he bought a little piece of land and he actually built these little tiny, like 500 square foot homes on them. And he sold the homes, but he put them on a land lease. And they pay him to this day. He's like, it's a 99-year land lease. And he's like,
Wow.
they pay me to this day like $50 a month. So he's like, on each of these little properties, I took like a junk little lot and I'm making, I think it's like $300 a month, but whatever. But he's like, that was just like the seed that was planted in me. And now I just know like what to do. And I was like, I never thought anything about land. I've always wanted to get into development and all that stuff. And I thought that you buy paper lots and you develop, right?
Right, exactly.
Never knew this existed. So
yeah, just like maybe once you get into development,
yeah,
then you see all that's involved. You're like, there's this land thing here. It's a little quicker, less risk. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, that's why I'm like, maybe I just want to be the people that get the sites ready and give it to the developers. They go make the big money, right? They deal with the big headaches.
Yeah, exactly. That's why he's trying to sell that hotel. No need to deal with all that.
Oh my God. Yeah. I was under contract for 3 hotels at the same time. It was Tennessee. I had 4 hotels. I'm sorry, 2 in Branson, Missouri, 1 in Tennessee, and 1 in St. Lucia. And I was going to buy all 4 of them. 3 of them were seller finance, and the other one we'd have to get a note for, whatever, in Tennessee.
So, do you have a background, Dennis, in managing hotels?
No, so I had a partner that does, and they're kind of like into that. So that's the thing. I actually met them in another mentorship that I was in, another like real estate mentorship, and then we kind of went all in and started partnering up on things. And so we were like, okay, cool, let's do this. And then after seeing this, the land stuff, I was talking to my partner now, Rob. I met him in the mentorship too.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, dude, we got to just do land. So like, let's just build this from the ground up and then go from there. And so, I mean, we love it. It's awesome. This is our 2nd year. So, it's just a totally different experience. And
years in. Did you take, was Leah the first course that you took?
I mean, yeah, I went and I talked to a couple of the other people. I talked to like Callan Faulkner. I've talked to what's his name? I talked to Joe McCall. I talked to Ari Simply. What's his name? I forgot his name. And they just didn't really seem like the right fit. And then I talked to Sumner. This is when Sumner was still doing like the intro calls. So I got on the phone with him and I'm like, dude, we just started talking, whatever. And kind of got into it. Hey, Antoine, so look up the Green Fig in St. Lucia. That was the hotel I was under contract to buy. So we started talking. And I'm like, man, I love this. This is awesome. So I just joined here and I loved it ever since. Because I did a free sales course. Like I used to teach sales. Still teach sales. But I used to teach sales and a couple other mentorships. Mm-hmm. So I told Sumner, I'm like, hey, let me come in, teach your community some sales. Do like a free class for them. And he's like, yeah, sure. That's awesome. But yeah, anyways. So, okay. So you sell that property. And now the next step is you join a mentorship, start learning more about land. And then fast forward, like kind of where are you at now?
So it took about a year for me to like kind of, take some classes, do the education. And in July of last year, I decided to send my first mailer. And it was 5,000 pieces. And at that time, I still had my other business in operating that. I was a full operator in it, so it kept me busy. And I wasn't able to give this, the attention that it needed, to be honest with you. And because of that, and because I had, revenue coming in from the other business, I feel like I made mistakes that a lot of people do when they come into this business and you have extra capital and you kind of throw money at things, right? I had a VA and he was great, found him on Fiverr. He knew more about land than I did. He obviously worked for another company. He's just like, here's the list of the keywords you need to scrub out, all this stuff. But he charged, and I know it may not seem like a lot, but it was 10 cents per data point to scrub on the on that side, and it was 10 cents after he scrubbed it to then price it, right? So I was kicking out probably $500-$600 a week on this guy. He was probably in heaven. He was good at what he did, but here comes technology, right? Yeah, I feel so bad for all the VAs, honestly. But it's like as this industry, grows, there's people that are pioneering that tech side of it. Like Sumner with Land Insights and making things that took a very long time just much more efficient. And so I use Land Insights. I use the land portal to scrub and pull my data, and it's great. It's great. So no need for the VA anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that was my first mailer in July. I used Rocket Print. I had no idea I need to get an answering service. So I'm like out at one of my short-term rentals, and like one of the cleaners had like called out or something crazy. So I'm in there cleaning, right? And these gloves on, and like my phone starts blowing up. And I'm like, what is this? And it was leads from my mailer calling my cell phone. I had no idea how to answer it. So I'm just answering and trying to, do my best. And I'm like, man, okay, so I need to get an answering service because this is not going to work, right?
Yeah.
So ended up getting Call Porter, and I chose Call Porter because their answering service only answers for real estate investors, whether wholesalers for houses or vacant land. So they know the lingo, they know what an easement is, they're familiar with, how we talk, and went with them. They were good. It linked up with my CRM. I used Pebble, so the integration was seamless and easy. They were affordable. But what I noticed when people were calling in is, they would do the little intake form. I would get the lead into Pebble, which was great. And I wasn't able to really get them back on the phone as much as I wanted to. Like getting that person back on the phone was a thing. And so I said, I need to cut out Call Porter.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And my ops manager and good friend who worked in the operations side of the Airbnb this with me, she was just like, put me in. I want to get into this. I want to do it. Like the first phone call she answered, it was a one call close. And I was just like, that was the first deal we had. And that 5,000 mailer. And it was kind of a spray and pray type of thing. My VA kind of looked up population growth and those kind of metrics and just kind of like picked some counties, and we just did it that way.
Sure.
He scrubbed the best he could, but there was some wetlands and landlocked stuff in there. And so we got a good amount of crappy calls. But that was my first deal, I guess, in the land industry after taking courses. And it was like a buy for 60, sell for 120 type of deal.
Nice.
Got a funder for it, and I'm going to say to date, that's my worst deal because it took 5 months to sell. And I ended up having to split 50-50 with the funder. But needless to say, it sold for $100K. So $40K spread. Had to split that with the funder. Not terrible whatsoever for someone coming into the business and not knowing much about the business, to be honest with you. So yeah.
I mean, you spent $2,500, right? And you made 20 grand.
Yeah.
Like, that's not bad with no risk of capital besides the 2,500. It's pretty damn good. It's like a 9.
No, it's amazing. I spent a little bit more because I use first class mail. I do too.
Okay, yeah. So you're out like 72 cents a letter or something like that.
Yeah.
So call it like $3 grand, 3,500 with data, and then you turn that around, boom. So it's pretty crazy, right?
Yeah. That's literally how easy it can be. And I just say that to say like it works, right? I was so surprised when I started getting phone calls from letters. I'm like, oh, this works. Okay.
Yeah.
So that
was that? That was in North Carolina. You did that, or?
Yeah, I was in North Carolina. So I decided to play in my own backyard. I only work in 3 markets: North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia. And I decided to do that. And it was like this little internal fight when I first started across 2 things. One thing was like, should I go across every market in the US? Should I do that? Because it's kind of advertised as you can do this anywhere, right? You can invest in every state, and it sounds cool to say I'm an investor across the US, right? And I work all these different markets. So I was like, I just need to just work and pick a few, and we're really good at getting to know those unique markets, because every market is a little bit different. And so that's what I did from then until now. It was a little beach vacation lot. It was like 0.2 acres. On the coast in North Carolina. So a little beach town. Hit up a realtor out there that's part of my firm. And he side-eyed me a little bit. He was just like, I'm not sure what you're doing here. but we got it done. We got it done.
Mm-hmm.
And I put him on a 6-month contract. I think that's something that I learned or heard in one of the groups. And I'm glad I did, because month 5 rolled up, and he messaged me. He's like, okay, got a buyer. I am going to put your lot at top of the list to sell it to them. And I'm just like, he's like doing this favor for me is kind of what he made it seem. And I'm just like, no, it's because your contract's about to run out.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, good job.
Yeah. I do typically between 4 and 6 months for realtors, because depending on the deal, like I want them to move fast, right? And I want them to be motivated to move it fast. And I tell them, like, accept all offers. I don't care what it is. Let's hear it. Yeah, they may lose a little bit of commission if it's lower, but at the end of the day, like, I move the lot faster. That's what I want. So by putting them on a 4 or 6 month contract, they're not going to just throw it on the market and forget about it.
No,
they're going to try to move that thing, because they know they lose out in 4 months or 6 months.
Yeah, if there was 6 months left on that contract, I wouldn't have been first on the list.
Nah, you would have been the last one.
Yeah,
like,
that's my thought on it.
We'll wait for a full ask offer to come before we say anything.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Yeah, smart.
So that was the first deal, the first mailer.
That's awesome. So you kind of like, that's the smart thing to do too, is like, my business is Cash for Land USA, right? And it's not necessarily that we named it that because we're going to do deals everywhere across the US, right? The reason why we do that is for SEO and marketing, right? Because now anybody who Googles sell my land cash in the US or whatever, sell my land cash, I come up, right? That's the whole point of it.
Yeah.
That's why like, that's my business name. But we primarily do North and South Carolina. That's our like main 2 markets. And then we kind of hit a couple other markets in other states, but like our main 2 markets are there, right? It's kind of one of those things like jack of all trades, master of none, right?
Yeah,
if you're doing every state, you're never going to be perfect. Like look at John Jasniak. He does Texas only, and he basically just does 3 counties in Texas, and he's doing multiple millions a year.
Yeah.
Right. Because he just said, I want to go a mile deep on these counties and learn everything about them and know all the people. Right. And it's also like one of the things, like I've done a lot of flips. I flipped like 400 houses in New Jersey. And the main thing I do is I look at it and say, I'm like, okay, well, I could get really good at these flips here because I could get belly to belly with the sellers and talk to them and actually like have a good conversation. With you being local to North Carolina, you could really crush it like in your local area, because you could just go meet people and say, hey, I'll come out to your house. Let's talk.
Yeah.
Not that you want to have to do that, but you could.
My second deal was a developer here. He got my letter and he was just like, kind of at the end of his career. He's done a bunch of stuff, and he's just like, it was sitting on my desk. I decided to call you, and he was just like, do you want to go to lunch? And I'm like, yeah, we can go to lunch. Public place, right? What's
the most public place?
Turn my location on, let my friends know. No.
I'm going to be here. Please, if anybody,
if they're watching this, they know it's true.
Exactly.
But no, super cool guy. He's just like, at the end of, he's just telling me all the projects he's done. And he's just like, it's great what you're doing, and I want to see you win. If you need help, let me know. Like anything on the development side. And he's local, and he's like, these were 2 lots. It was 3 lots that he had bought and subdivided, tiny little acres. And he was just like, just give me what you want for them. And I was like, and I said 45,000. I knew I can get 75,000 for him, but he said yes so fast. I was like, man, you should have said 30. She said 30.
if they don't balk at it, if they're not like, oh, then you said you went way too high.
Yeah. I'm like, so sending the contract, I'm just like, are you cool with me double closing? And he was just like, yeah, whatever you need to make the deal work. Sent the contract, he signed it. The benefit of being local, right, and going a mile deep, like you spoke about, I was able to just call up I'm licensed here, but I do not do dispo myself because I feel like it's a whole nother job, and I want to focus on acquisition. So good friend of mine, done this together. I'm like, hey, I got a lot. I know you know this area. Can you get it up? What do you think? And it was like 1 phone call. He got the drone photos, and it was done, and it was sold to another builder cash. for the asking 6 weeks later, right? It closed in 6 weeks, and it
Nice.
was a double close. So that was the second deal that I did, and it was a double close. Yeah.
Sweet. Are you mostly focusing on double closes, or do you focus on cash, or
No,
what is your like ideal deal?
I'm not focusing on them. I think that second seller there was just like he left the door wide open. I was just like, well, let me try this since he's cool with
Yeah.
it, you know. Um, but I'm not against it. I'm learning the different methods of acquisition and disposition and funding, and I
Mhm.
think they're just all different tools in the tool belt that
Yeah.
that you use when it's appropriate. So I honestly had to get comfortable with the double close verbiage and being okay with it because I wasn't
Mhm.
comfortable with it. I didn't know how people would react to it, and sometimes that's just in our own heads.
Yeah.
Because yeah, now that I am comfortable with it, I offer it, and a lot of times we just offer the quick close option, 14-day close option, or 90-day option. We want that quick close option to be pretty low, so when they see the 90-day option, they're like,
Yep.
we'll go with that. And a
Yeah.
lot of times the folks that own this land, they're not distressed, they're honestly not. And they're cool with 90 days. They've owned it for years, so it's fine. As long as they feel like I believe that they can trust you, and you're building that relationship with them. Yeah. So I've used some double close. About half of the deals I've done to date have been double closes. Going forward, I'll definitely be heavily leaning on it when I can.
Mhm.
And if it works for that particular deal and that particular seller.
Yeah.
So
And you
yeah.
do double closes through a realtor, right? You're not self-listing?
Yeah, I don't self-list it.
Okay.
Let
Yeah.
me think. Yeah, on a flat fee MLS I did that with South Carolina. So now, yeah, I do it. I do it with the realtor, and again, that is the benefit of going a mile deep in one
Mhm.
market, right? Or just a few markets. You really build that team that you need, so
Yep.
you can have kind of a seamless process there. You know the title folks. Your real estate agent. The survey person. So
Mhm.
it's a little easier. Like I got a call yesterday or 2 days ago, sent out a micro mailer of 197 mailers, got a call back. The lady owns a bunch of land in Georgia, and she's like, I don't want to sell my Georgia land, but this North Carolina land is, she had her accent. And she's like killing me on the taxes. And so looked it up. It's actually in a neighborhood where I lived for 10 years in North Carolina. So I
Mhm.
knew it, great schools. Stuff at that size is trading for like 19 an acre. She's like, I just want 11, 12 an acre. Even just doing a flip, it's beneficial. I called my realtor. I emailed my realtor last night. He emailed me back this morning. He knew the regulations. Like,
Mhm.
just like that. He's like, it's going to be a major because it's 1 in 5 parcels. It's going to sell for this, easily a $1.2 million subdivide deal
Mhm.
on 15 acres of land. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And he knows somebody who just does entitlements. They go to the same barbershop. I know the developer that I did my second deal with. He's willing to help me. So it's like you
Yeah.
build these relationships and connections when you stay within a certain market, and it's
Mhm.
really really valuable and beneficial. So
Yeah. It is because it's hard to like build relationships like that all over the place, and then maintaining them, it just never happens, right? So
yeah,
that's why it's really good to kind of like stick with a few select markets, you know? And even still, like I operate in North Carolina, you operate in North Carolina. We're probably mailing the same data.
yeah,
We're gonna
yeah,
have totally different results, which is crazy. It's just like you never know. Like I have a friend of mine that he's mailed a county, and I've mailed the exact same list, and we got completely different leads.
yeah.
And it's just how it happens, right?
I
Some
think it's
people.
great. I
Yeah.
think it's great because I think that it like we're the people who open our letters, if you do direct mail, right? They're human and they're gonna react to different things. They
Yeah.
might relate to you because of, maybe you have a picture with your dog and they're pet lovers, or
Yeah.
maybe they connect with you because of your ethnicity, right? Or
Yep.
maybe you say that you're a single mom or whatever it is that is unique about you. If you're not putting something unique and personal about you in your marketing material, I would advise people to do that, because some
Mhm.
people will simply call you because they feel like they can relate to you, right? And
Yep.
that's why they want to work with you. So
Yeah. That's exactly what it is. Everybody's gonna resonate with something different. Like our letter is like Cash for Land USA, veteran-owned company, all this stuff, right? The people that
exactly,
are gonna call us are probably gonna be veterans or people that were, served in the military, something like that. Um, and maybe probably we'll get some other ones too, but like that's kind of like what we've noticed is you kind of go down that path. And also too, like we've noticed, like, no matter what side of the politics you're on, but typically if you're mailing a very like red area, then you probably got to play to the politics that they're used to, right? Or they like, because it doesn't matter what you like, it matters what they resonate with, right? So you kind of have to play into that stuff as well. We're mailing a lot of rural markets that are typically red, like this pretty common knowledge, like that happens a lot. So we do like a lot of red, white, and blue and things like that, just because it kind of like, even if you're not outwardly saying it, it makes you look like you're, more like American or whatever. So just stupid stuff like that. It's little tweaks that really really go the distance. And a lot of people I've seen, I mean, I get some letters that are just bad.
Yeah.
From like some of the land we own, like somebody will mail us a letter on it, and I look at this, I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe people are spending money on this stuff.
I mean, it's what's
bad.
being taught at the end of the day. There's so many, online education is a huge money making thing, right? Like so many people are in it, and it's a lot of noise. And so I think people have to be careful about the programs that they're paying for, and who's their coach, right?
Yeah.
And make sure they're successful operators too, because they're just copy and pasting what they hear in these courses and taking these basic templates and mailing them, and you're not getting any results. So I think people, be unique.
Be unique. That's why we don't really share our letters. Like,
yeah,
I've done that one time and it was such a mistake. I shared my letter because I was like openly showing people what it is. And next thing you know, like people were copying my letter. And then I shared my contract. I was like showing people like, this is my terminology in my contract. Somebody literally paused the video and copied my entire contract. And then they were complaining when something happened. They're like, blah, 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 this happened and it's in this contract, this and that. And they're like, well, where'd you get the contract? Well, I got it from Dennis. He's like, he sent it to you? No, I just copied it. It's like,
kind of stole it, froze the video and stole it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm going to have different results than you because of my experiences and things like that. People I know, my contract is going to be different because of the stuff I don't know, because of my experience, but like everybody's going to have different results, right? And they think that, oh, I can just take from Dennis. It's going to work, right? It doesn't work like that. So, be original, be unique, and don't be afraid to spend a little money and try to find out more.
Don't do the cheapest thing. I don't mind sharing my letter. I'll be honest. Like at first, I felt a little way about it. I even saw someone in Discord ask somebody, "Hey, can you send me your letter you use?" And I felt offended for the guy he was asking. I don't know if that's right or not, but I'm like, we spend a lot of time and energy to perfect and define our letters over time. And this guy's just new and coming here and asking to steal your letter,
Yeah.
And then I realized, like, everyone's going to do it differently. Your letter is just literally one piece in a puzzle that's going to make you successful in it, Yeah. So it's very important. I think the envelope is important. Your market selection is important. Your data is important. Your intake, your lead intake is important.
Yeah.
The person answering the phone, your follow-up cadence is important. There's so many other things, right? That come into play to make a business successful. So I don't mind too much sharing it. So
so as far as like your lead intake, you were talking about that before. You have someone answering the phones for you live, right? So and they're your acquisitions as well, right?
Yep. So she does customer facing. My happy place is not talking to people all the time. It's just not. And she enjoys it more than I do. I'm not gonna say she's like enjoys it, but she enjoys it more than I do.
Yeah.
and she's good at building rapport with folks and all that stuff. And people like to sit on the phone and tell you about themselves, and when you're trying to run the operational side of the business, being on the phone all day will drain you. You. Especially if you're kind of like that introverted personality, it's going to drain your battery. So she does all of that. And after, end of every day or every other few days, we talk and I'm just like, hey, how are the calls? What were some of the things that they were saying? Just to get that feedback and constantly improving, our marketing based on that feedback immediately. So if I noticed when they were calling, like on my letter, I'll show my letter because I'm always changing it anyway, probably something. So I have a 2-page letter, right? The first letter is all the mail mark stuff and my, me, the introduction. The other one is kind of a roadmap to let them know what they're gonna expect, and then like some frequently asked questions, right? And also in the letter, it clearly says you will speak to Kay or Candace, operations manager, right? So they know when they call, there's gonna be a woman on the other side, and her name's gonna be Kay or Candace, right? So it's setting that expectation for them, and it makes them more comfortable on the phone. Because when we were getting calls before I added that snippet to the letter, they were calling and they gave Candace hell. They was just like, no, I'm gonna speak to Kay. Kay wrote me the letter. Like Kay was the familiar, it was like I saw a picture of her. Her name is here. She's on the way, So I was like, okay, so great. Let's make sure we add your name into the letter so they know who they're gonna speak to when they call. And now we don't get that. They know exactly when they call in who they're going to be speaking to. And it just makes it a smoother transition,
I like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is one thing. Like I could even see in my business, I don't like is we do have an answering service and I use Answer Force. They're great. Their agents are amazing, whatever. And, like they usually, when people call in, they say, I want to speak to Dennis. And it's like, crap. Okay. So they want to speak to me, which I get.
Right.
But at the same time, like I don't do any acquisitions. I don't answer the phones. I don't do any of that stuff. So like that's something I should probably change on my letter too. Is like, hey, maybe I'm Dennis the owner, but like the person you're going to talk to is going to be, Tyler or whatever the case is, right? It's going to be a different person. It's going to be our acquisitions guy. So that's something I think I should probably change as well because there is that, and the transition's typically not hard. It's people are usually understanding of that. But
if you can remove it by adding a sentence to your letter, why not?
Right.
Like because it's like this little checkbox of things that make me feel like I can't trust you. They're already like picking up the phone, and there's a little bit of I don't know who's going to answer. And if you answer and you're someone else and you sound like someone else, that's like a checkbox in I don't know if I trust them. Imagine answering the phone, getting a letter with my face on it, and a VA with an accent answers, and it's a guy. Like, are you crazy? You're like, what is going on here?
Yeah. That's the other reason why we like Answer Force because it's all American. So like they sound like they do have their like overseas side, but mostly it's Americans, which is great. But still, there is like who's going to answer the phone, how are they going to be, all that stuff. It does add that little complexity to it. So I've done it before. Like what I've done is when I used to have a home investors business, just like house buying and stuff like that. And when I had that, I used to answer all my calls.
Yeah.
But it was like crazy because I would get calls at like 1 a.m. and it was like the bat phone. You run to it, you answer it because when that call comes in, you take it.
Sound like
you drop what you're doing. Yeah. You drop what you're doing, you answer it. But I noticed I'm like, this is inefficient for me, right? Because I'm always out there like on the go doing stuff on jobs, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm answering the phone and like I have nowhere to write stuff down. I'm not in front of a computer. I'm not putting stuff in the information. Like I just have a conversation, talk to them, everything like that. But then I have no notes.
Yeah.
So that's something I should probably get back into is like having a live answering, but make sure obviously it's one consistent person, and then also making sure that the person they're talking to is the person that they're going to be working with, right? So
yeah.
All the way through
acquisition, all the way through closing of title. Candace stays with them. I do the comping part of it. We let them know in the letter, hey, we do range letters, and it's like, hey, we pull batches of data just to let you know this is an approximation. Once you call us and we speak with you, within 24 to 48 hours, you'll get a final offer. So it's setting the stage to know what to expect when they call in, who they're going to speak to, and when they're going to get their final offer, right? They know kind of some of the questions we're going to ask. And I think that allows someone to be comfortable when they call in and just they know what to expect. So in 24 to 40 hours, it's comped. We have buckets in our CRM. When it comes in, she creates the deal. It's in one bucket. That's why I know it's my job to comp it. I comp it, tag notes and Pebble, move it to another bucket. She takes it from there, and you know, it's a pretty good process. So
Nice. Okay, so 20.
Can you see my gray sweatpants?
Yeah, like slightly.
Oh God! Like if I would have known my pants were shiny, I would have did black. Like,
Can I zoom you in? Let's see. No.
no, it's fine. I'm like, man.
No, you're good. You're good. That's the best thing about this business. You can do it in your sweatpants.
Oh my God! Like, yes, I had the matching gray hoodie with like the strings. I was just like, let me put on the black shirt. You know.
I mean, look at me. I'm in a sweatshirt and a hat.
Yeah,
like,
that's part of this business is just putting on the comfortable clothes and working from home, make your own schedule. Absolutely.
Exactly. Yeah, because I'm always like going on and off job sites and stuff like that. So like for me, this is what I wear because walking on a job site, I'm not gonna wear anything else, you know? Like,
yeah, exactly.
in a business suit. But yeah, no, it's that's the best part about it. So okay, cool. So with have you considered like any like adding an answer service for like off peak hours? Like if Candace's like your working schedule is 9 to 5, right? Like so Answer Force has like a thing I could be online, take calls live.
Yes.
So I could turn that on anytime and then boom, you know, when they call in, Tyler could answer if it's between this and this schedule. But then outside of that, because we get calls sometimes at like 2 a.m, right?
Yeah. Do you?
Yes, yeah, not
from
a lot.
Landowners in the same like time zone as you?
No, some of the owners like they're West Coast or Hawaii, so
okay,
they'll call
okay.
when it's convenient for them. And yeah, sometimes it's like 2 a.m. East Coast, so it's like okay, it's a little late.
Yeah, a little late. That's why. That's why I'm just like I'm doing my time zone in my markets because I just don't want to deal with that. That obviously may change later, but yeah. I noticed like coming from short-term rentals, like you said, 2 o'clock, someone's blowing you up because they can't figure out getting into the place or whatever like that. In land, to be honest with you, people call during business hours. Like we may get a call or two on the weekend, but we use open phone and we have a very nice female voice on there that I got it done on Fiverr, very cheap. And it's a live recording, this lady, and it kind of says, hey, these are our hours. We missed you. Leave your reference code that's on the top right of the letter. And people do it. They leave a message or they send us a text and with the reference code on it. But it's really not a whole lot of volume outside of business hours, which is fantastic. And I love that about this business. So, I explored that option with Call Porter before I cut the service with them. They said that we could do something like that, like maybe on the weekends they answer or after certain times. But honestly, I found that we don't need it as of yet. So, so yeah.
I think it's when you hit your volume too, like when you're sending 20,000 letters and stuff like that. When you're hitting like higher volume, your calls are going to be totally different. You're going to be inundated.
Yeah.
Because like what are you seeing now is like your response rate for
so when I first got started, I used Rocket Print. And we did so in a 4-month span, July to October, we did about 14,000 mailers. We got 60 contacts from that. So either they were calling in, they were texting in, and then we got 5 deals from that. And I ran these numbers just recently. Okay. And in November and December, now granted, today is only January 8th. So everything that was mailed, in December, it hasn't seasoned really.
Right.
We did 5,846 mailers. We have 40 contacts from that and 9 deals. I switched my mailing up in November and December and started mailing from home and I stopped using Rocket Print. And
your return address is here?
It's in Charlotte. It's a Regis Charlotte address.
Okay.
Yeah.
What kind of address is that? Like a mailbox or is it like?
No, it's a real office. Yeah, it's a real office. I wanted to get I wanted to make sure that I got a address that I can get Google verified because I know that I was gonna like really ramp up the online presence in a positive way. Like everybody I deal with, I'm asking for a Google review. The surveyor, the guy who did the perk test, the drone photos, like, any seller, like, because, like you said, when someone gets your letter, they're going to Google you, period. Yep. They don't know who you are, right?
Yep.
And so you want that presence to pop up in a positive way. And so it does And that's why anybody just kind of getting started and they're wondering like what virtual office to get. Um, get something that when you Google it, it doesn't show up as a UPS store. Like I see
Yeah.
those, and you're doing yourself a disservice with that because people get so much junk mail.
Yep.
And if the return address looks a little fishy with like the XYBC, like all that's after those PO boxes, like it doesn't help build trust with the owners, to be honest with you. So
Yeah.
so get an address that you can that's not overly saturated used, and that you can get Google verified at with a little postcard and all that stuff. So you can start
Sure.
building an online presence. I think that is super super important because they're gonna Google you.
Oh yeah. So you rented like a what is that, like a work share kind of office?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah.
Gotcha. And is that like that expensive, or is it a couple $100 a month, or?
It's like $132 a month.
Wow, that's not bad at all. And mail goes there, everything like that goes
Yep,
there.
all my return mail, because I use first class, which is another reason why I like first class mail is that it's fast. First of all, I can go to the post office, literally drop mail in on Monday and get calls on Friday. Like that's how fast first class mail is. Because I'm mailing in the Carolinas, that's where I am, right?
Sure.
So it gets there really quickly. But what was your question? Just whoop.
The mail house, yeah. Just tell me, like the mailing, go getting your mail.
Yeah, it goes there. So the return mail goes there. So I get all the return mail, which is great because a lot of people who don't use first class, I don't know if you don't use first class, do you get the return mail?
No, you do not.
Yeah, I didn't think
that's
so.
The negatives of not using first class for bulk mail. It's cheaper, but you don't get any returns.
And I don't think it forwards. The forwarding address is so it's worth upping your spend and doing first class mail. You get the return. You can take the return, go on your CRM. Because if your mail is not hitting, no one else's mail is hitting.
Nope.
So now maybe I need to email them, right? Or maybe I need to call them, or maybe do a little skip tracing with them and get another mailing address. So that's the really great thing about first class mail, getting return mail. So Regis office, I can go up there. They receive my packages. I go up there and talk to them. They also send me my return mail once a week, so I get it at my home address too here. So
that's awesome. Okay,
return address is important.
So that's basically local to your house, you're saying too?
Yeah, it's up the street.
Right. So so you could stop in, grab your mail whenever you want. That's awesome. Like that is a really good tip. I honestly that's something also like we've been back and forth with, but because we're in I'm in New Jersey, my partner's in Utah. I would have to have one of those two addresses to make it work. But at the end of the day, it's not that it's not the end of the world. At least it's a real address, right? So a lot of people talk about I should set up a mail hub in North Carolina, a mail hub in South Carolina, a mail hub over here, a mail hub over there. It's okay, but at the end of the day, like you said, you don't have a real office. It's not a real legit business. That's why it is a good idea to do that. I do like that idea.
It's all about the perception, right? You get that local address that's on your mailers, that's on your website. When people Google you, that address shows up. And so it gives the feeling of that brick and mortar, real trustworthy business. And it's like you've been there. So spend $100, $150, I don't know what it is, in other places, and get an office space like that,
I think it's worth it too. So like you asked for Google reviews and stuff like that. I think that's one of the best things people could do is ask for that stuff. So every time I close a deal, I send a box of cookies, right? I'm sure you heard about this stuff, but I send a box.
I gotta try those cookies. I know. I've been hearing about these
cookies. Text me right after this. Tell me your address and I'll send you a box. But yeah, we send a box of cookies, and I've raised private capital through there. I get Google reviews. I get whatever I want. She does. Awesome. It's my wife's business, so she does cookies, handwritten note, whatever other stuff you want to stuff in the box, and ships them right out, gets their door. And then the best time for somebody to give you any kind of feedback, anything like that, is right after they've had, some kind of event, right? They've just made money, they sold the deal, whatever the case may be. That's the best time to ask for a review or ask what they're doing with their money, because they're going to want to work with you. You just built that trust with them, right? And you just gave them $100,000 for, to sell a piece of land. Now they just made $100,000. What are they going to do with it, right?
Yeah.
So she writes a handwritten note, and it'll say, hey, it's great working with you, blah, blah, blah. If you ever want to work with us again in the future, please let us know. If you ever want to put that money to work, give us a call back. Boom. They call me back all the time. And they're like, hey, what does this mean? Like, how do I put my money to work? And I start talking to them. And last year alone, I probably, raised a couple $1 million just with that
That's
stuff.
awesome.
And it's such an easy thing, like, because you've built that trust. They already trust you. Now bring them back in. Like, then they kind of see like how the business works, and then you put their money back in the deal and then pay them back in 4 months. They're like, wait a minute. I just made more money on the same money. Like this.
Yeah, they're loving you. They're loving you.
Yeah, exactly. So
when you're raising money, is there is a fund formally, or how is that set up?
No, it's 1-to-1. So with debt, any kind of debt type of deals like this, because it's an individual asset that you're going to be buying and selling, it'd be like a debt fund, right? So to do that,
okay.
yeah, with any kind of debt fund, it's a lot of like back and forth and paperwork. So we just do one-offs with promissory notes. So like every time I'm in a deal,
a specific property.
It's always to a
Got
specific property, because when you do it to a specific property, they have controlling interest too. So like, let's say, well, not controlling interest, but they have interest, right? So like it's a first position debt, just like a regular mortgage is. So let's say anything ever happens, we default, I could just take that and here you go. I could pass them off the property and they own the property now, and that's it. I would just quit claim deed it to them. So that's why I like doing first position debt only. And typically my lenders are bringing in 110% of the capital. So they'll bring in the total raise plus closing costs and a couple other extra bucks.
Okay.
So it works out great for me, works out great for them. Everybody's happy. So
awesome.
we could talk more about that stuff too. It's definitely beneficial. So as far as your mailing campaign, so you're not using Rocket Print or anything like that now, right? Are you doing in-house? Like you're packing your own mail and all that stuff?
Yeah, I'm in-house. I do everything, the mail merge, the print, all of that stuff. I have the paper cuts to prove it. And but the goal.
Do you have like a letter folder and stuff like that, or?
Yeah, so like I was telling you, I went to the distribution center for Quadient, and that was the reason why I went. I got to look at all their equipment. They got like 50 of my mailers. They demoed it out. I got to see what other companies are doing, their marketing material. There's so many different ways to market a direct piece of mail. Like, yeah, that's why I say there's more than Rocket. I don't feel like Rocket Print give you a good like consultation. They just kind of print whatever you give them, to be honest with you.
Right.
And that's what they're for. But there are other little boutique mail houses that will help you kind of design or kind of talk about what works and what doesn't. Like direct mail, cold calling, these marketing channels that we use in land, they have been around for a very, very long time. Yep. So they are tested. There's research out there. If you want to know about direct marketing and what works with mail, there's so much out there to read upon. They do testing to see when a seller opens, or not even open the letter, they look at the envelope, like they're looking at where the postmark is from. They're looking at the return address, like all these things. So I would say anybody listening, like go Google some stuff about direct mail. It's really going to help. Like, don't just take the letter that you got from your course and just spend a bunch of money with Rocket Print and not like, do you know how your mail looks when it gets delivered to the seller? Right.
It's better to skinny up your list a little bit and just spend a little bit more on the mail, right?
Yeah.
You have a better letter, you'll higher results,
Yeah.
We've tested that a bunch of times, and we noticed that when we send first class mail, we get a better response.
Yeah.
And it's just very simple. And
you're reaching more people, because the person that puts the forwarding address in your mail is going to forward to them, so so you're reaching other folks, and then you get the little black square that says pre-sorted, like that looks like marketing mail. Like you're going to throw that away. You don't want your envelope looking like that. Yeah,
that's the whole thing too. Is also too, when you send bulk mail, it all gets delivered on the same day with everybody else's bulk mail.
Exactly.
So if their bulk mail deliveries are Tuesdays or Thursdays or whatever that county or their jurisdiction is, it's going to get delivered on that day. So the same day,
all the coupons, with all the flyers, like
when people are just tossing, they're tossing yours too. Yeah. So so it's
But I do everything in house. You can probably see behind me.
The stacks of letters.
Yeah, the stacks of envelopes and such. But I like to do, like, I get feedback. Candace and I talk every day about every other day or so about the callers that call in, and we're refining our marketing really quickly. Like I said, I think we mailed a letter, a little campaign, a micro campaign on the 31st, right? And today's the 8th. We have 5 leads from a roughly 200 letter campaign, right? And one is a subdivide, right? The other ones are really great, like just flips. So it's it's working. So it's worth me sitting here and folding the envelopes. It's learning what works, being able to do testing and A/B testing rather quickly, and also getting the feedback when we send out campaigns within a week or two. We're getting it pretty fast. Our average mail sent to initial contact is average 11 days right now. So when I go to the post office and drop the mail to when they call us or text us or email us, is average is 11 days. And then the mail sent to when we get a signed contract is average of 18 days. So like our cycle is really, 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 it has really shrunk, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Doing it this way. And I think it is because it's first class mail. I think because it is a local address. I think because the postmark matches the local return address. And we do a few other things, little tweaks here. They just make it feel really human. And what I noticed too with the mail, I'm going to call it home mail is what we'll call it.
Right.
We don't get the hate responses. Like we barely get hate responses. Like the people calling angry that you're trying to cheat them or steal their land or don't call me or our price is wrong. I remember listening to, some of the voicemails and getting some of the written messages from Call Porter about the people yelling at us. And I'm like, oh my God. But even people that ask, like, I answer, it was Saturday, we're talking, he's telling me about his land, he just put the house on. I'm like, great, so do you want to sell us part of it? And he's like, no, I just want you to be take me off your mail list. And I was like, okay, you could have said that a long time ago. We're just like, we're like, okay, happy holidays. It was like a very nice, calm call. And he's just like, yeah, I just want to tell you to take me off the list, please. And so I think it's easier to yell at like a company that looks big, right? Like the AT&Ts or Spectrum. When we're mad at them, it's like easier to be mad and like yell at them. But when it's like small mom and pop, like I think people are a little bit more reluctant to show that or just be rude or be angry because they know it's a human, right, on the other side. So
so the whole stuffing process, like I've done this before. So when I was a real estate agent, I used to have like a letter stuffer, and it would like basically like you stack your envelopes, stack letters, and like it just folds it and stuffs it. It was awesome. So with yours, are you like, how are you doing? Are you printing your envelopes and then like stuffing them?
No,
Like,
so
how are you like labeling them and keeping it all together?
I use a double window.
Double window, okay.
Yep, self. So I just left the showroom, and I just felt like, I told you I was on a high when I left because I felt like it was Christmas with all the machinery they had in there.
Yeah,
and
I love that
their
stuff.
Machines do it all. They do it all. They take it, they fold it, they stuff it, they seal it, everything. So I was really excited about that. And at home, I do the mail merge through Word. I pull my data in, and I run my data through Pebble to get the reference number so we can track the campaigns and everything. So every letter has a unique reference number. That mail merge, I just do it simply through Word. It has a little step-by-step mail merge system. It's super easy to use. And I print it out on my laser printer, and we fold and we stuff. And I say we, and that is my acquisitions manager. She was over here till 12:30 last night. Because we're doing like 2,000 to 2,500 a week right now. So you can imagine the physical part of that. But it's really to get proof of concept, and it's really to allow me to change and update the marketing material based on feedback pretty quickly. Because when you do a change to your template with Rocket Print, it takes a while. So I'm like, yeah, I probably gave him like 8 versions of letters, and I was like, okay, I probably just need to do this at home because it was taking so long to
Yep.
implement something new and then get the feedback, right? Because if you can pick a market, mail it, and know it's good in a few weeks instead of 2 months, that's game changer, right? You know what's good and what to double down on, and you know what's bad, or maybe that you're getting calls and you found out maybe this is not really a market I want to be in. You know not to mail it anymore pretty quickly.
Right.
So
And you can just take it off
so
your list. Yeah.
yeah, it's painstaking right now, but the goal is just to really button up what works and collect the data on that. We've been doing it for 2 months, probably do it for another 2 months, and that'd be 4 months of data. And we did, I mean, you're talking 700 mailers per deal in November and December. That was election time, that was
Yeah.
holiday time, and that is the kind of response rate and deal flow we got from just 5,000 something mailers. So
Great.
now we're going to the new year, the election's over, the interest rates, they're a little bit better.
Mhm.
Our internal skill set and how we handle things it keeps getting better as we operate, because we're really just focused on process and listening to the customer. Like, I think that is so important. People will
Sure.
call in, and without saying it to you, you can get a idea of if they don't trust you, right?
Mhm.
And I think just having your finger on the pulse with the customer is important, because it's direct feedback to what you're doing as far as marketing is concerned. So
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
I love that. It's such an awesome idea, and it's so refreshing to hear because everybody always just talks about like, what's the quick thing? How can I do
yeah.
this? How can I make it easy? Right?
What's the
It's not
cheapest?
easy.
Yeah,
Yeah, what's the cheapest? What's the easiest? What's the quickest? Right? But that's not going to yield the best results. And then when people do it, then they're like, "Well, I sent 20,000 letters and I got no responses."
I've heard
Okay.
that.
Did
Yeah,
you use a Chat GPT letter? Did you just print it out? Does it look like crap? Is it just all
don't
black
we
and white?
love ChatGPT?
Yeah, I know, like, all this stuff, like, is that what you did? Because if that's what you did, then you're not gonna get any good results, right? You know, I think another reason why you don't get the hate mail is because you're very clear on your mailer by saying like, "Hey, this is a range. We're gonna be in this range, but we're gonna let you know what our actual offer is within 24 to 48," right? It kinda sets the expectation right ahead
It
of
does.
time.
It does.
Whereas, like, if we're just doing a blind offer and saying I'm gonna give you 50K, and then they call in and we're like, yeah, no, we got to come down to 40. They're gonna be like, yeah, screw you. Like,
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
want to talk to you.
yeah.
They get upset, right? So I think it does also set that expectation, like this is book mail, blah blah blah, but this is the things we might do. Um, that's pretty cool. So
And they
I've
want,
never,
and just a little note too on just
uh,
the importance of refining and listening to your customer. You know, when people were calling in, that disclosure was on our letter. I'm like, why are people, really thinking these are hard numbers? Why are they not reading the disclosure? Like, this is a range. And found out that, like, we need to place it in a different place. So now, we place it right under the offer. We place it like right there, that
yeah,
little part right there. And
yeah,
so now we're seeing that they, based on the folks that call in, that we're not really getting that pushback. They understand that it is a range, and they understand that we have due diligence to do, and we're going to come back to you with this firm offer, right? These two offers, whether it's a double close offer or a quick close offer,
sure,
and we're going to tell them why too. We tell them why, and we kind of do like a quick little due diligence thing. The great thing about Pebble, and shout out to Pebble and Jesse, is that you can create your own custom fields in in
yeah,
in in the properties. So when we import our data, we import everything. The land
yeah,
portal
same here.
provides slope, if it's septic or not, if that data is available, just everything. I create the fields, and I'm just like, I don't know if I'm
Yep,
going to need it now, but let's go ahead and get it in the CRM. So we have that
yep,
information, email addresses, relatives information,
hmm,
is, the road frontage, like the
right,
wetlands percentage, the flood zone, what it is, the percentage. Like, when you come back to a customer and you have all this detail, they probably don't even know half of what it is. It's like, oh,
no,
they really did their research.
right. You
It's
look
really
like
just
you're
like pulling
you're
the data
informed.
into a mail merge.
Yeah,
That's
yep.
all it is.
I know. I know. It's funny. Like, oh my God, I've done this before. I've made such a big mistake, and now I'm not allowed to touch Pebble anymore. Um, one day I was like cleaning it up, and I'm like, removing fields we don't use, right? 'Cause sometimes when
Yeah,
you first look at it, there's a ton of fields in there, and you're like,
exactly.
we
Yeah.
don't use all these. So the one was um forget what it was, external reference ID, right? And I thought that was the internal, like that was theirs because we have our own like mailing ID that we create. So I deleted it, external reference ID. Come to find out, I deleted the mail reference ID for over 400,000 properties that we had in our CRM.
Good job, Dennis.
Within 24 hours, my main VA, she was like, "What happened to this field? It's not here anymore." And I was like,
delete
my
Dennis
God.
as a user.
Yeah.
He's no longer allowed to be in Pebble. Like,
So Rob was like, "What is wrong with you?" He's like, "I love that you're impulsive and you love to change things. You like to just try new things, whatever. But please do not delete anything." I'm like, "All right, sorry."
Sorry. All right, I'll stay in my lane.
I've done some stupid things. So yeah, if you've ever started using a field, don't delete it.
Yeah.
Little word to the wise. Because there's no going back. Once you delete it, all that data is gone from every single record. Even if you re-input that field, you can't get it back unless you re-upload all your data.
Oh, man. Yeah. That sucks.
Made a mistake with that. That happened.
No.
So,
yeah.
So is everything getting tracked in Pebble? Like, do you see all the ROAS numbers and stuff like that?
Yeah, everything
is just a reference ID.
Yeah, everything is being tracked in Pebble. I don't think I use Pebble to its fullest potential.
Me neither. I don't either.
I have like my acquisition deals in their stages, and then I have like the disposition deals and their stages. And we tag a lot. Candace and I, we tag a lot in there.
I love tagging,
for the tasks and stuff like that. But I probably need to I don't mail out of Pebble, right? There's no way to hit like the activate campaign button. So the workaround for that is like we label it the date that we mailed it. You know, we're like North Carolina, days on market, under 150, 2 to 12, acres, mailed this date. Like, so it's a long label for the campaign. But that's the only way we can really say we mailed it, because we can't hit activate because we mail outside of Pebble. And I don't know if they're going to come up with a workaround for that or not. Yeah, because
we create our own reference ID. It's just like first 3 of the county, the month, then it's like OR.
So I did that in the beginning because I didn't realize Pebble creates the reference numbers for you. Do you not like the reference numbers they create?
So we like it because then I could just track, like, if I've mailed something in May and then I mail it again in October, I know this is when I mailed it. And when they're calling me back, then it automatically on the thing, it says like, Orange County, May. And I'm like, okay, this is from an old letter, right?
Yeah.
So then if I change my pricing, I could just look back at that price that I sent it originally and know exactly what my pricing was back then. And maybe we upped our price now or lowered our price now on the second mailing or third mailing, that maybe we have to adjust things, right?
Yeah.
So,
no, absolutely. I get it. I think we use it for the same. I think we do 2 different things for the same result. Like when they put the reference code in for when leads come in, it pops up the campaign. And because we label the campaign with the mail date, we're able to gather that information as well. Yeah. Very beneficial, because you want to know, like, when did they, get this mail, and how long did it take for them to contact us, right? That's a good KPI to know.
Yeah, exactly. So ours is just like county, month, and then 4 digits, like 0001, and then it goes up from there. So also too, like, everything is sorted, and our letters are sorted, like from like smallest acreage to the biggest acreage. And we know if we get like a campaign code that's like 005, that's probably like a 4-acre parcel. If it's like 1018, it's probably like 50 acres or something like that. You know what I mean? We know it's a bigger parcel when the lead comes in.
Right, so, automatically. Yeah.
So little stuff like that.
So do you, Dennis, do any other marketing outside of mail? Like, what is your favorite marketing channel?
So we love mail just because of the simplicity. I'm very big on my like return on effort. So like my ROE is lowest with mail. I don't really have to do a lot of like hand holding and things like that. I could just send mail. Now, with that being said, like we just did start doing email marketing with land emails, and we're testing that because we have so much data already scrubbed.
Right.
Like, let's just try touching other ways. So we just started land emails. Our first campaign actually started this week, and we've gotten hits already. And then we're adding in, like, I have a partner that's going to do some texting for us. I don't want to do texting. When I first came into this business, like my house business, we used to text, cold call, did everything. I ran a call center with 30 VAs and we would text and cold call like crazy. It was hitting like million contacts a month. It was insane. I don't want to do that ever again. My brain is just dead. So I love the simplicity of this. So what we're doing now is I'm bringing people in and I'm going to give them a portion of the deal. Like, hey, you go do the texting, you go do all the brain damage. Just bring us the lead. We'll lock it up. And that's that. You know what I mean? And like that to me is a better thing. So we're just starting that. Um, but me and Rob have been talking and we're like, you know what? Like, we love mail. I think it's one of the most timeless types of marketing. And it's never going to go away. Like there's not like there's restrictions and changes that happen just like they did in Georgia, but it's
Nowhere
never
near
going to go away.
like text
Nowhere
message.
near the same as like
Yeah.
like whatever, like texting and all that stuff. So I'm like, okay, cool. So why I want to focus this year, like our number one goal this year is becoming so damn good at direct mail that like nobody can compete with us. That's like our main
Yeah.
goal. So
Go
we're
a
gonna
mile
go,
deep. Go a mile
yeah,
deep with
yeah.
direct mail. Yeah.
That's exactly what we're gonna do. We're gonna go a mile deep just on direct mail. Our KPIs have been so low because we just kind of like we scrub and we do all that stuff, but we spray and pray with mail and we don't follow up. Like our KPIs for letters have not been that great.
You do not spray and pray with mail. You're a land insight
Yeah.
user, Dennis. You don't
Well,
spray and pray.
I know, but like the way we touch things and the way we look at things, it's kind of like a spray and pray in a way. We scrub the crap out of stuff. Like we'll pull data, and after we pull data, we still scrub it. I have it's a 20-point checklist, and every single parcel gets categorized into a point. It costs me, my average spend on that is 3.5 cents per record. But they're literally going in there, pulling up the property, looking at the 3D map, looking at the property, checking the road frontage, doing all this. It's all manual, checking everything, making sure the name is right, making sure the address is right, everything. And then if it's wrong, they input the right address, everything like that. So I have 2 full-time VAs that just do that, and that's all they do, right? And what they do is they categorize all this land for me, and then it tells me like, okay, well, I only want to mail the 1s and 2s, but the 1s are my prime lots; those are my best lots. So I'm going to probably mail them with a better offer. My 2s are my good normals; that's my average everyday lot, so I'll mail them at this normal offer. But then I could go back at any point and I could say like, okay, all the odd shaped lots, all the flagpoles, the weird shape, anything like that, I could go back and mail them anytime I want, but at a lower offer. Anything that's landlocked, we send landlocked campaigns, and a lot of people just scrub out landlocks and forget about them. I take them because I got a deal that looked like it was a landlocked deal. I made $220,000 on it because it looked landlocked. Everybody passed over it.
Yeah.
We offered them, and it was just so happened we offered them because it kind of got through a scrubbing process. But we offered 145K and we sold it for 360 in like 30 days. So it was just crazy. It's like all we needed to do for that was just update the easement.
Simple as that. Yeah.
Simple as that. Update the easement. We made 220 grand, and it's crazy. So we mail neutral letters to landlocked properties, and we'll say, hey, if you have access to your parcel, we'd be interested in talking and discussing, purchasing it. If you are indeed landlocked, then, it's not going to be a good fit for us. But either way, give us a call, right?
Yeah.
And they'll call us and, see what happens. So, but those we focus on like above 40 acres in certain markets, things like that, not just like a whatever.
Yeah.
But our KPIs right now for mail has been like, it's about 2,200 to a closed deal. It could have been better, but we're strict. I've been a lot more strict in the actual deals we're buying lately, and like we're listing properties as soon as we get it under contract now, and gauging the interest in the market. And if we don't get good interest within 30 days, we cancel the contract. Whereas in the past, I would just go through and buy it and then just sit on it. Now I'm like, no, I only want to buy stuff that has interest. So if I don't get any interest in 30
are you
days,
doing that in South Carolina too?
So South Carolina, we've listed a few like that, but I don't love doing it in South Carolina because of the, you're not supposed to double close kind of rules.
Yeah, so I was texting with Jack Brokerless guy. Yeah, and he said he will list if you get a signed and notarized attorney in fact from the seller.
Yeah.
he will do it. And that is under the only circumstances. He was just like, I'm gonna tell you this, but these are the only circumstances. Like, it needs to be, they are fully aware, what's going on. And the thing is, the second layer of that, though, right? Say if you do get that contract signed, a lot of the attorneys in South Carolina are not going to risk their license for you if you don't know them, if they don't have a relationship with you already. So there are some that if you know them or if you have a relationship with them, like you can do that. But a lot of them will not touch like anything, any contract that has the word assignment in it, wholesale, anything like investor language in it. Like South Carolina, they will not touch it. They're like, nope.
But we'll still buy it. We'll still go through and buy the property, right? So if we know like we have a buyer coming in, we'll still go buy the property and then close like 30 days later, or whatever the case may be, knowing I just have a buyer coming in. It's just that I want to gauge that interest because it's happened to, like, I've had to cancel in the last month like 5 contracts.
No,
because
you can't be canceling contracts.
You had to, we couldn't renegotiate.
Bad taste in the seller, in like the owner's mouth.
Yeah,
and then
worse. I hate doing it, but like one of them was a completely valid reason. Seller said everything was great, whatever. We had somebody go walk the property and they're like, this is like a freaking swamp. And even though on all the wetlands maps, everything like that, it does not show up as wetlands. But once we were out there going to get a perk test, they walked it and they're like, this is like a total swamp. This ain't going to perk.
Yeah.
So we talked to the seller and like, did you know how wet it was? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, okay, cool. So
that's an easy, like, we don't want this. Yeah.
So we were like, hey, we could still give you 45,000 for it. We were under contract for 80 or cancel. And they're like, no, we'll just cancel. I'm like, okay, sorry. Sucks. I hate to do that, but like sometimes you have to,
Yeah. Sometimes you definitely have to. You definitely don't want to get stuck with anything that's not going to move. Absolutely not. So do you allow yourself in your contract kind of 30 days in general for due diligence, or?
So we have a 90-day with a 30-day extension in our contract. And we don't ever, unless we need to set the perception that we're going to close immediately, we usually don't ever say like, hey, we're going to close in 14 days. Right? There's very few times we've actually closed in like shorter, quicker periods because they needed the money or whatever the case may be. But for the most part too, that's a big red flag to me if somebody's like, I need to close in 14 days. Right? It's like, how come you've owned this for 25 years? You randomly got a letter from me, but now you need to close in 14 days. Are you the actual person? Right? I lost there you go.
Sorry.
No, you're good. So like that's the whole thing. Like it does raise a red flag. So I do look at those when people say stuff like that. So yeah,
I don't think I've ever had someone that's like, I gotta close in 14 days. I don't. But we get to be a little bit thirsty. They're like, we're trying to buy this pickup truck, so if you can do this before the end of the month, that'd be great.
Sure.
But I haven't had like that distressed person yet.
Yeah.
But then I also target, like, of course we'll get parcels that are less than this, but we try to target stuff that's at least $40,000 market value and up. If we happen to get some smaller ones, we'll do them if they make sense. But that's what we try to target and stay around. So that's awesome.
Sweet. Yeah, it's awesome. I love it. So what's your last question? Then we'll call it, and we can do another one if you want. So what's your like average cost to mail like from home? I mean, besides your labor and everything like that.
It's about $1 a letter, $1 to $1.10, because I'm playing with a few different things. Yeah. So it is a higher cost, but I mean 700 letters to a deal. Our average deal is like a buy for 30, sell for 65 on average. Yeah. So it's after paying fees and funders and stuff like that, it nets about $20,000 after everything is said and done. So I mean that's crazy, I don't know. It kind of feels illegal.
I know.
I'm just like, you're making money out of thin air. Like, you don't own the inventory. Well, you own it, but not for long.
Temporarily.
Like, you don't manage any inventory. You're like, it's so, I just think this business is so incredible, to be honest with you. Like, if you can get it right, and it's something that you can just repeat. And that's the really, really great thing about it. I haven't done like a subdivide. I've only done like flips. And I think we're coming up on our first subdivide here soon in North Carolina. So I'm really, really excited about that. So yeah.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Now you got to start your dirt wall.
Is
I
that what that is? I thought
Yeah,
it was like seasonings or
I
something.
collect no, I collect jars of dirt from every
I'm like,
deal I
Dennis
do.
must cook.
No, I do cook, but
Okay.
no, these are all jars of dirt I collect from each deal I do,
That
and
is so cool.
I have a whole box of them that still have to go up on the wall.
I love that. That is so cool.
Yeah,
So
so
funny. I always thought those were seasonings.
nah, so each one is like a different deal, and you can see like all the dirt's different. And then I put a label in here of what it is, the profit, and all that stuff, just so I could like look back. I used to have an office, and I had like a plank from every single house I flipped, and that was like
Wow.
one of my walls is like a plank from it. It's pretty cool. So things like
Where are the planks now?
I don't have them. That was my old office.
Oh, okay, okay.
I didn't keep much of though. But yeah, that's like I love doing stuff like that. It's just I don't know. One day I'll just make like an entire floor to ceiling wall.
Yeah, that'll be really, really cool.
Yeah. So, but awesome. This is great. I love it. I love the way you're going about this business. It's great because like everybody could do things differently. Like I love the simplicity of my business. I only work like 4 hours a week, maybe in it. And you know, we still do deals. We did last year we did over $500,000 net profit. And it's like I really didn't do too much. Right.
Yeah.
It's kind of
Yeah.
crazy, you know, and like this year our goal is to hit 1.5, and I think we'll probably hit 1.5 with me working about maybe 30 hours for a month. So that's like for me that my return on effort there is like insane. So
yeah.
you know, I think the way you're doing things, obviously you're putting a little more effort in the front end, but it's like to hone in your process, and then you have infinite scale.
No, we have the it won't be for long. We're doing it the hard way.
No, yeah, it's a temporary thing.
Kind of tightened up. I'll invest in the equipment. There's equipment that does this. You know, so I won't have to do any of it, but you know, pull the data and pick the markets and all that good stuff. So
yeah.
But this year, 2025, goal 1.5. Do you see that being made up of subdivides or just flips or value add projects, or what do you see that made up of?
I think it's the 1.5 is basically just for flips. That's our goal for flips, because our average deal is about 39,000 profit per deal. So to hit that, it's really not that hard. And then we're gonna also stack in subdivides as well. So you know, subdivides that's a different sector. I'm not including that because the KPIs are going to be different.
Right.
It's going to be different. The timelines are going to be different.
Yeah.
It's almost like a separate entire business. So that's why like that's one. This is two.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
So to support that kind of volume, just being new, right? What kind of team do you believe? I guess what kind of deal flow do you need monthly to get to that 1.5? And what kind of team do you have, or do you think you'll need, or you need to get there?
For acquisitions, I think it's probably going to be acquisitions manager, lead manager. And then for assistants, we probably need, we have 3, and that's pretty much where we're going to be at for 3 assistants. So it'll be a team of 5 full-time employees. We're going to be adding in also a transaction coordinator that also deals a lot with like the relationship between realtors and things like that, title companies, all that stuff. So that's 6. And then myself and Rob. So 8 people total. And that should hit us with the revenue probably somewhere around, I think we'll probably hit like a rev of like 3.5 to 4 million. And then the 1.5 will be our net. So
be the net. Yeah. So for new folks listening out there, like at what point do you think, if they're doing everything themselves, and I'm a big advocate, just by the way, when you start this business, to do everything yourself, I think you need to understand the inputs of your business, the outputs of your business. You need to know what good looks like. And so I think come in, you need to do everything yourself. Somebody new and they're scaling, at what point, you know, do you say, okay, now's the time to invest in an acquisition manager or a leads manager or whatever team member would you give that person?
Acquisitions manager, I'd say when you're getting so one acquisitions manager can handle 100 leads per month, right? On average. So I would say you're going to need something like probably anything over 40 leads per month consistently. That's when you could probably look into acquisitions. If that's, like if you're also running other sections of your business and that's not your sole focus, above 40 leads, you need a full-time acquisitions, I think, or at least part-time. And then above 100 leads, you need full-time acquisitions plus a lead manager or some kind of assistant, right? For that acquisitions manager to help them with comping and all that stuff. I definitely think that. So the number one hire, though, I think is a generalist VA, because the data side of things can get you so bogged down. You need somebody that's going to take that data off your hands and allow you to focus on the bigger things, right? I priced a lot of lists and I pulled a lot of lists and I understand the data side of things. That's why I'm like, okay, now I know what I need to hire for. Right. So generalist VA is like number one, generalist data. And then after you've gotten that honed in, get your mailing good and all that stuff, then that's when I would scale into like, okay, let me look at acquisitions. You already have acquisitions. So you're good, right? You're kind of working like backwards engineering this, right? In a way. So you're taking every process and figuring out how can I make this more efficient by learning how to do it myself, and then know what I'm looking for when I go to hire, right?
Yeah.
Because you know what a good mailer looks like. You know what KPIs for a good mailer should be. So when you send it to a good mail house, if they're not within like a 20% margin of your current KPIs, there's something wrong.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, definitely.
So,
yeah.
Yeah. That's the like the smart thing about what you're doing, because you could really like hone in on stuff, which I love. That's awesome.
Yeah. So, yeah. I'm trying to scale, but at the same time, be able to keep those margins. And that's not easy. So
yeah. Anytime you add a team member, your efficiency is going to go down, right? So you're going to lose about 20% efficiency easily. So like if your KPIs were like you 700 to a deal, now they might go 900 to a deal. But then you change acquisitions, you're probably going to go to 1100 to a deal, just because like there's little things that get lost, right? When I'm on the phones, it's one call closes, things get moving faster. Our contract rate was like 1 to 7, right? For every lead that came in, I was closing it. Like contract to purchase is 1 to 7, right? With an acquisitions manager, our contract rate is actually lower. It's like 1 to 11 right now, right? I know that it's lower. I could doing better, but my return on effort goes up. So it's like, okay, where do I want to be? Am I okay with losing a little bit, knowing my time is well spent doing what I want to do? Or do I get in there and try to make things better? Everybody has a different approach, right?
Yeah. Everyone's gonna have a different approach to that. Yeah.
So sweet. This is awesome. I think we should do a follow-up call. I think this is awesome. I'd love to get more into your business and like the numbers of things too. So let's do that. Let's try to pick a day for me and you to have another conversation. We could talk more about like the land itself. We talked a lot about marketing today, but let's talk.
We did.
Yeah. I love it. That's the business though, marketing.
It is. It is. If I could sum it up, like someone new, someone listening, like what are the main important things? It's like market selection is the most important thing, because it's going to determine your dispo, right? You don't want to pick a bad market, or when you're starting out new, don't pick South Carolina. I live over here, so like I know people and things like that, and I'm like, so it's a little easier. But if you're new, like don't pick states that are wholesale friendly, just in general, right? So if you want to dispo, you can assign it, you can wholesale it, you can double close it, whatever you need to do. So I think market selection is super important, and marketing is the next really, really important thing in your business. And then your strategy, right? So overall,
I love it.
Let's talk about land next time.
Awesome. Well, I thank everybody for hanging out. It's a long call. I love it. But let's hop on another one. Let's talk about this more.
All right. Bye, Dennis.
Awesome. Thanks, Kay. Appreciate it. All right, everyone. See you later. Thank you.